Attention listeners, mark your calendars for Colorado Gives Day on December 10th. Support AfterSight and give to the causes you care about. Go to coloradogivesday.org/organizations/AfterSight between now and December 10th to make your donation.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to At Your Fingertips, Braille Then and Now. Welcome to the December 2024 podcast. I'm so glad you're here with me because I have some really cool topics to chat about with you, and I would love to have your feedback. If you do have feedback, please feel free to send it to feedback@unmute.show. So what is so timely that we're going to be discussing includes holiday cards and how to create them in Braille, how to put labels on your gifts, either directly with a gift tag or with a label on the package itself. And then finally, we're going to draw pictures with the Perkins, which is really cool. And you could integrate a picture of, say, a Christmas tree onto the card that you're sending someone. And last, we'll talk about how to label an appliance. You know, those touch screens. Pervasive touchscreens? Well, you'll hear about my adventures with labeling my latest appliance and how you can label yours as well in case Santa brings you an appliance under your tree. So first, let's talk about holiday cards. I received my first holiday card probably 40 years ago from my really good friend, and she just popped it in her Brailler and wrote a message to me, which is really great. One challenge with putting cards directly in the Perkins is that sometimes the cardstock is pretty thick. So it may work best to put it in landscape, long ways left to right, rather than portrait. You have to also deal with the fold of the card. So sometimes what I do is I turn the card landscape and only roll it in so far to meet the fold where the edge of the Perkins is. So basically, I'm only brailing on the bottom half of the card. That seems to work pretty well. You can also find larger sticky labels, label sheets that you can roll in the Perkins, braille your message, and then peel it off and cut it out, and then stick it inside the card. You could also braille on a smaller piece of paper or a piece of paper that is easily folded and tuck that insert inside the card. And you have options then for brailing cards for those who read Braille. Even if they read uncontracted Braille, you can give them a little project to read. I think some of my favorite podcast hosts generally read basically uncontracted Braille, maybe, or are learning grade 2 or contracted Braille, and they might benefit from a lovely holiday card in their preferred Braille grade. So I often send Braille greeting cards to my students that I teach, and we get a twofer here because they get their Braille practice and they get the pleasure of receiving an accessible card. During the pandemic, I remember kind of sitting at my kitchen table. We were all working from home then, had Christmas music playing in the background, and I was brailing cards for my students. And it was just such a lovely memory. And I heard from several of them that they were so surprised to receive an accessible card that they weren't expecting. Mail comes for them that they can actually read. So if you have ideas or other ways that you've found to braille cards, please send us some feedback. So now what we can talk about is how to label all those holiday gifts. You go to a gathering and you have to tell the person if you haven't written on them ahead of time or you don't know your print letters or whatever the case is that you need to label the gifts. So there's a few different ways to do this. What I usually do is I usually put a sticky label on the actual box itself, and then I wrap the box. And then I have pretty sensitive fingers, so I can read the Braille through the wrapping paper. And so I can read who it went to. Oftentimes, the shape is a definite giveaway, but if I do have several boxes that are, square, rectangular, kind of generic feeling boxes, then I always write the person's name on the box with a sticky label, and then I'm able to read through the wrapping. If you're not able to read through the wrapping, you can put the label directly on the wrapping. You could also create a little gift tag or Braille on the gift tag itself. Not just Braille paper goes in the Perkins. You want to make sure that the item is not so small that you lose it inside the Perkins, or you lose hold of it and it falls in there. Ask me how I know. I think I dropped something in the Perkins and someone is able to get it out, or my students have accidentally got labels stuck in there. But as on the whole, you can roll other things in there, even if you just put it in the Brailler without rolling and you hold it down. And you can actually Braille one-handed if you hold your mouth right. You can Braille one-handed and get the job done on a very small piece of something. And so it's possible to create your own gift tags. Or you could just take the easy way out and ask one of your sighted family or friends to write on them for you. But it's always nice to know what you're giving and to whom, because sometimes people like to, bring the gift across the room to the person and say, here's my gift for you, kind of thing. So those are some suggestions on brailing on labels or, gift tags or other ways to do that. So a long time ago, that same friend who sent me the first Braille greeting card also sent me a picture that she drew with the Perkins. And I don't know if you knew that it was possible to draw pictures with the Perkins, but it really is. And they're really kind of cool. And they just make a line drawing outline. And then if you have a little person in your life who wants to color it, or you're an adult and you want to color it, that's no problem at all. You have the outline and you can color your picture. So the pictures with Perkins, a really simple idea to kind of practice with your spacing or practice with your Perkins, and you don't even have to know anything more than grade 1 uncontracted Braille, is to make a Christmas tree, but formed out of the letters of the alphabet. So I gave a gift last year I was a Secret Santa at work, we were all participating, and my recipient got a gift, and he had to figure out what the card said or what the message at the bottom of the card said. So I gave him an alphabet, and strangely enough, it wasn't quite obvious to him right away. I kind of had to explain it, but I created an alphabet and made it in the shape of a Christmas tree. So I started with, and I've seen this idea on a Braille holiday shirt. Unfortunately, the holiday shirt was not raised, so you couldn't feel the letters, but the idea was that you start with the letter A at the top, and then so that being one character, and then on the second line, you put B, C, D, and then on the next line, you put E, F, G, H, I. So what you're doing is one character on the first line, 3 on the second line, 5 on the third line, 7 on the fourth line, and 9 on the fifth line. So if I figured that out right, that should use up all of the letters of the alphabet. And if you should have one left over, which I don't think you do, you would put it at the very bottom centered, because you want to make your tree trunk. So at the bottom in the middle, say on space 5, let's say, because you have 9 characters across on the last line, you would put the, say, FOR sign, which is all 6 dots, and then you'd go down to the next line and put one of those, and go down to the next line and put one of those again. So basically you're making a vertical tree trunk at the end. And you could make your tree trunk thicker if you wanted. And so then I wrote a message at the bottom. I think I said happy holidays or something, and he had to use the alphabet to figure out what the message said. So that was kind of cool. So that's an alphabet on a card in the shape of a Christmas tree with a message at the bottom, so that your recipient can have a little something to do and a little Braille in the process. Now, if you want to use contractions in drawing pictures with the Perkins and other, characters, whether it's just, L's or 456s or that sort of thing. You can also draw actual pictures. So in the show notes, I'm going to put some links to some things. I have a pattern, a Braille pattern for a couple of hearts. I believe they're in different sizes, a small heart and a larger heart. And basically, when you use contractions for these pictures, they give some shape to it. So a GH sign dots 126 or the AR sign dot 345 give kind of a curve. And if you know your Braille, you'll know that that's just a little curvy, and so is an S. And so they configure the design in such a way that they make shapes, and it's really cool. So the contractions offer something that the alphabet letters or other symbols do not. And so you could draw a Christmas tree with, or on the Brailler, you could create a Christmas tree, even if you use the FOR signs for the shape of the tree with those lines that I just described for the alphabet. And then if you wanted to, you could put little oval decorations every now and again instead of the FOR signs. The way you create an oval is the OW sign dots 246 followed by the O dots 135, and it makes a cute little oval with a little hole in the center. If you wanted little packages underneath the tree, I just had this brainstorm while I'm speaking with you here. You could put little sets of FOR signs, maybe 2 by 2 FOR signs as packages underneath the tree. So we're creating little squares. And so that is just really, really super basic. The heart pattern is just a little more complicated. What they tell you is, write this contraction, space 3 times, write this next contraction. Line 2, write this character, space once, write this character, space twice. They give you the contractions and the spacing so that you can draw your own pictures, which is really, really cool. So some ideas for you. This discussion topic got started, interestingly enough, on the Envision glasses list. Sometimes Charmaine brings a topic that's not related to the glasses, but just as kind of a discussion starter or a way to connect and learn more about how people use their tools. And so she just started a discussion about drawing pictures with Braille. And so on the Mountbatten Brailler website, there are quite a number of patterns. I think there's about 30 of them listed with pictures, like anything from the Christmas tree we've talked about to a pumpkin and different things. And they describe how to get started. They don't write every line out completely, but they tell you how to keep going and how to end the pattern. So it isn't quite as complete as I would like, especially if you're a beginner and you're still figuring this thing out. But they do have some really cool ideas about how to draw pictures with the Perkins and different things to create, a pumpkin or sailboat or, different things like that. So we'll put that link in the notes. Also, Charmaine brought, so that was an idea, the Mountbatten Brailler website with those picture descriptions and how to get started on them was a list contributor's idea. But Charmaine brought us the Louisiana School for the Blind demonstration of how to create a duck on water on the Perkins. And so this instructor is banging away on her Brailler and doing a great job of describing on YouTube how to create a duck. And we start out with just 3 little characters at the top, and she'll describe, if she says to type an in, she'll describe, okay, that's the contraction in dots 3-5, not the word in. So she's really descriptive. And I haven't finished listening, but I really plan on making this duck. And I plan on sharing these ideas with my Braille students, because if they have children in their lives, or if they just want to create something really cool looking on the Brailler, they can do that. And it's a fun way to practice your spacing, practice just writing in general on the Perkins. So pictures with Perkins. Finally, let's talk about my adventures with labeling my new appliance. First, though, before I tell you about that, I should describe a simple microwave template. Now, every microwave made now, I think, has a touch screen. And a couple of years ago, my microwave went out. There were sparks going off inside. I'm like, oh, time to retire this one. And it wasn't that old. It was kind of sad. But I had help from my brother to go to Best Buy. I didn't know they sold microwaves, but they do. They sell everything, I think, electronic. So I went to Best Buy, and my brother was going to help me label it. And he thought, oh, no, because he remembers helping somebody label something about 30, 40 years ago, and he had to cut out each one and stick it on. And he just like, oh, no. And so I said, no. I have strips already made. They're going to fit the microwave perfectly. So in general, my experience here as I'm based in the US is that if you find labeling tape, either the kind that comes on a roll or the sticky labels you can buy and roll in the Perkins, if you Braille #1 space, #2 space, #3, and you cut that out, it will fit perfectly on 1, 2, 3. So the spacing seems to be pretty consistent among the brands of microwaves, and I've used a few different brands that I can recall. I don't have any trouble with the labels not lining up with the buttons. So I just create strips for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 0 is hanging out all by himself. And then I create labels, extra ones for time, power. Maybe I'll have the contraction .5T for time. Maybe I'll write PW for power, TC for time cook, anything like that. I do CL for clear or cancel and ST for start because, of course, both start and stop begin with ST, so that's not super helpful. And there you go. So just getting a little sighted assistance is necessary here. And I have a little tip for that. When I was recently labeling my new appliance that I will tell you about shortly, I was having Ira help me. Now, you could just as well have Be My Eyes help you. I found that applying a label is a little bit fiddly. I could have worn my phone in a harness. I just propped it up against myself and I kneeled down on the floor. So it was against my chest and it was quite a picture there. I was kneeling at the counter. And, but if you make your Braille labels and you peel them off and you position your hands so that your palms are basically facing you and your fingernails are what's against the appliance itself. And you're holding the label between, say, your 2 index fingers and your 2 index fingernails are against the panel of the touch screen. You can easily move and not have the label get stuck to the appliance. That is the tricky bit of how to move just little minute distances without having the label get stuck before you wanted it to. So that's just a little tip that I found helpful. So I recently was quite taken with a kitchen appliance. And those who know me know I have a lot of kitchen appliances and I love to cook. And I don't let a touch screen deter me. My brother recently got a rice cooker and he was very excited about it. And I thought, oh, I don't know. But then the more I thought about it, I read about his and it could cook multiple kinds of grains, whether it's oats or quinoa or just different things. And I'm trying to remember why I didn't actually purchase the one that he recommended to me because he just loves it. I was just shopping around for them and I found one by Cosori, Cosori. And it is a 5-quart, 10 cup. The 10 cup refers to the amount of grain you can put in there. The 5-quart is, to my understanding, the capacity of the cooker. And it definitely has a touch screen. And it has things like white rice, quick rice, oats. It has a grain setting. It has a mode. The mode means you could saute or steam or slow cook. And then, of course, there's the proverbial stop or cancel and start function. Oh, there are a few other, settings, but the texture also. So for some of the grains, like the rice, you can determine whether you want it soft or regular, that sort of thing. Some of the grains have texture options. So if you push the grain option, you would have a choice of of quinoa or barley or farro, for instance. Oats has its own button. So anyway, when you press the grain, you cycle through how many ever beeps, to get to the grain you want and the texture you want, and then you hit start. So I thought, well, I could overthink this, and I'm a thinker, so I thought, let me overthink this process. I want to create a one sticky label template for this thing. Kind of like we're talking about the Braille pictures, you put this 2 characters and space over, 4 times and put this next thing. I tried for a couple hours. It was ridiculous, a waste of time, but it was fun to create a template where the right spacing would be accomplished if I just took one giant, sticky label, not real giant, but, to cover the whole panel. And the problem is, of course, that Cosori doesn't space the lines that line up with the Perkins Brailler, and there's just no way. You could probably get the spacing across, but it's the vertical spacing to land on the button that you're really not going to get correct. So I finally, after much experimentation, abandoned the little template idea, and I just went to creating labels for it. So OA is oats, QR is quick rice, WR is white rice, MO is mode, and that sort of thing. And I just cut out the labels, and I used my little method of sliding my index finger nails up the panel until Ira said stop. And then I would put the label on. And then, of course, I would definitely, push the button to make sure it registered. And fortunately, these buttons beep. And so I know that I've pressed it, which is great. And then, of course, Ira helped me run through the setup function in terms of the first use, running the steam cycle. And then I was off and running, and I made the best oatmeal ever in it recently. And so that was really great. So don't let a touchscreen deter you. If you choose an option and then you need to choose another button and choose another option, that's great. The ones that are more complicated, of course, are going to be the ones that have you choose an option within the same menu. But this is great. I just choose the grain, I choose the texture, and then I hit start. So I found that to be a really effective way to label a touchscreen. If you don't have access to those sticky labels, you can use clear address labels. You could also cut those. So there are options without going to any of the specialists' website to order those things. My favorite place for ordering labels is the American Printing House for the Blind. It's aph.org. If you are outside the US and you have another option, that is great. But the idea remains the same, is to braille on something sticky that is clear, by the way, in case you have sighted people that want to use that same appliance. I happen to just be here with the cats, and they haven't learned to use any appliances, so it's just me. But I do make sure that things are clear, literally, so that anybody who comes over wants to see my appliance or use it, they can do that. So I hope this has all been helpful for you. Happy holidays in however way you celebrate them. I hope you have some really good ideas about how to write Christmas cards in Braille, label your gifts, draw some pictures, and label your appliances. Next time, look forward to interviews with people who have visited the Louis Braille Museum for the January 2025 issue of At Your Fingertips, where we celebrate Louis Braille's birthday. Happy holidays, everyone.